Hello everyone, this is Rebecca Franco, and here is my media critique presentation. My project concerns the lay article by Moses from U.S. News titled How Helicopter Parenting Impedes Child Development, and also the original study published in Developmental Psychology by Perry and colleagues, called Childhood Self-Regulation as a Mechanism Through Which Early Over-Controlling Parenting is Associated with Adjustment in Pre-Adolescence. So we can see that the lay article I chose uses causal language. The headline is implying that, quote, helicopter-style parenting causes an effect, in this case an impediment, on development. Any statement in which one factor is said to affect another is causal. Alternatively, the title of the original study describes a correlation by using the phrase associated with. So we can see that there is already a mismatch there between the two. Despite the causal language in the title, it is clear from the information given in the lay article that the original study was a correlational, observational, longitudinal study. Moses describes how researchers observed children's interaction with their mothers in the lab at 2 years old, and then compared it to data about the children's development at age 5, and then to the children's socio-emotional development at age 10. The study is correlational because the focus was on the naturally occurring relationship between two variables. There was no control or manipulation of the variables, so it was not an experimental study. Nor was it descriptive, a type of research that collects, consolidates, and describes data with no concern for relationships between variables. The researchers approached this study longitudinally, meaning that they examined the same children at various points over time, in this study at age 2, 5, and 10, with a focus on changes in development. Since the original study was correlational, the causal language used in the headline of the media article is misleading. Correlational studies cannot tell us anything about causation, only that variables are somehow related. Because of the lack of experimental control in a correlational study, we cannot know the directionality of the relationship or if some other factor is the cause of the correlation. The body of the article itself provides more accurate information for the most part. The author uses terms like associated with and predicted when describing the relationship between the variables, which are appropriate for correlational studies. And the author even makes a statement clarifying that no causation was found, just a correlation. But he then contradicts this by stating that higher self-regulation at age 5, quote, led to better adjustment at age 10, which implies causality. And the general process and ideas behind the original research was captured in the lay article, but Moses could also have better clarified the relationship found between the variables. He mentions the over-controlling parenting style in toddlerhood was related to emotional regulation at age 5, which was related to emotional development at age 10. This was the case in the original study, but the fact that the self-regulation indicators at age 5 moderated the association between the other two variables, which was a critical finding of Perry and colleagues, was not made clear in the lay article. And we can see that just the title of the original article identifies this relationship. This lack of clarifying detail does not go so far as to misrepresent the findings of the study. However, one particular aspect of the lay article could lead one to draw more conclusions than can actually be drawn from the original research. Moses included several quotes by the lead researcher and another psychology expert about why this over-attentive style parenting might have a negative effect on development. And although these were credible sources and they were careful not to use any causal language in their quotes, the study itself would not have provided this information since a correlational approach does not explain why a relationship occurs. And Moses does not mention that these statements are possible explanations of the connection, which leaves the reader at risk of assuming that the study somehow provided this information. Moses' description of the study's methods and procedures was accurate. He described how some of the variables were operationalized. For example, over-controlling parenting was defined through coding of observed mother-child interactions during play and cleanup sessions in the lab, and socio-emotional development at age 10 was indicated by teacher and self-report indicators of emotional and school problems and social and academic success. There was, however, no mention of the age 5 self-regulatory variables, which were emotional regulation, operationalized using a frustration task, and also inhibitory control, which was defined through a Stroop task. There were 2 claims made by Moses that were not supported in the original study. One was that the study involved the variable of impulse control at age 10. He states that regulation at age 5, quote, led to better impulse control, etc. And in the study, the outcome measures of pre-adolescent adjustment included academic productivity and social skills and emotional and school problems. There was no measure or mention of impulse control at age 10. The other unsupported statement is that there was a direct association between parental control and pre-adolescent adjustment. And the study's results specifically show no direct association between these 2 variables. The relationship only occurs through the moderation of self-regulation capacity at age 5. The findings from this research could inform practice in childcare and early education settings that strive to use evidence-based practice in promoting healthy development and good outcomes in academic and socio-emotional adjustment, and also maybe interventions that include supporting parents in approaches that foster healthy development. But since the study was correlational, implementation of this research into practice must be done with consideration that simply being less controlling as a parent to a toddler may not necessarily increase the child's self-regulation. But a correlation does allow the possibility of a causal relationship, so the practice is worth implementing. I will add that this only applies to populations that were represented in the study's sample, so relatively diverse but based in Western society. Such a correlation may not exist in more collectivist cultures that value independence less. The media article alone implies more of a causal relationship than can be gleaned from the original study due to some of the language used and the inclusion of theoretical explanation without specifying that this information can only be speculated. Parents who read such an article might suddenly change their approach to parenting without considering many of the other variables that could be involved, thus confusing their child needlessly. The context in which the family operates and characteristics within the child themselves are full of factors that affect a child's outcome. Evaluations of findings like those in this study must be considered accordingly. I end this slideshow by suggesting an alternate, more accurate title for a report on the original science. Helicopter parenting associated with lower childhood self-regulation, which predicts poor pre-adolescent adjustment. I would also suggest a statement be added concerning to whom this research can be applied in terms of cultural context. Thank you very much for watching my presentation.